My mother, who had favored sons over daughters for most of her life, unexpectedly became paralyzed at the age of 50. My adult brother, her Lydia, her beloved son who lived with our parent, never took responsibility for a single day. I remained unmarried, taking care of her alone for 20 years until she passed away. She was reborn in the year I turned 18. Linzoe Kosoe, you actually bought a new phone? When I returned home during the summer vacation, my new phone accidentally peeked out of my pocket, and Lin Bin Bin Bin, who was watching TV on the sofa, he dropped his potato chips and dashed over to me, snatching the phone from my pocket, excitedly inspecting it from every angle. Alarm bells rang in my head, and I sensed trouble. What are you doing? Give it back to me. Now it's mine. Lin Bin Bin tried to unlock the phone, but after several failed attempts, he demanded that I unlock it for him. I panicked, urgently saying, I bought this with my own hard-earned money. You can't take it. I want it. I'm taking it. Don't you already have a phone? Why do you need to steal mine? I had worked long hours to save up and buy this phone. How could I bear to give it to him? Besides, Lin Bin 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 was still in high school and already had the latest iPhone. Mine was just a 2,000 yuan phone. He was just used to taking my things. Even if he didn't need it, he would still steal. Can't I have the phone? I struggled to contain my anger. Give it back to me. Ma. Hearing him call for our mother, I felt a wave of despair. Ever since he was little, whatever Lin Bin Bin wanted, our parents would do their best to fulfill his wishes. Not to mention when it came to something of mine, I'd resisted before, but my protests only resulted in beatings and scolding. Why can't you be nice to your brother? What's letting him have it? You ungrateful little brat. You know you'll be married off one day? The Lin family will rely on your brother in the future. Think you can compete with him. I had heard that countless times. Seeing my dejected expression, Linus Lin Bin Bin had already started to gloat, making various faces at me. I was so furious that I trembled all over, wishing I could slap him. Smack! The crisp sound echoed, and Lin Bin Bin really got slapped across the face. I widened my eyes in disbelief. Lin Bin covered his face, also staring wide-eyed. You little brat. Do you think you can just steal your sister's thing? Give it back. I didn't know when Mom had come out of her bedroom, but after slapping Lin Bin Bin Bin, she stood with her hands on her hips, angrily pointing at the phone in his hand. I've seen this fierce and intimidating expression countless times throughout my life, but it's always been directed at me. This is the first time I've seen Mom get angry at Lin Bin Bin, then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. You hit me? You actually hit me. You hit me for Lindsay Kosoe. Lin Bin Bin was still in shock. Smack! Another slap landed on the other side of Lin Bin Bin's face. Mom's anger intensified even more. I'm hitting you. And who allowed you to call your sister by her full name? From now on, you'd better call her sister obediently. My jaw dropped in shock. Ever since he was about 7 or 8, Lin Bin Bin had called me by my name of Urash, and the family knew about it, but we all turned a blind eye to it. How could a pampered Lin Bin Bin handle this kind of treatment? Once he realized what was happening, he started crying hysterically and threw my phone hard onto the ground. I won't. If I can't have this phone, then Lindsay Kosoe can't use it either. After shouting, Lin Bin Bin ran to his bedroom and slammed the door shut, the loud bang making me flinch involuntarily. I looked at my phone screen, now shattered into a spider-bear pattern, and my heart ached. I quickly bent down to pick it up, while calculating how much it would cost to replace the screen. I wondered why Mom was acting so unusually today. Forget about the phone. We'll buy you a new one later. I looked up in disbelief, meeting Mom's loving and gentle gaze. My heart sank. I admitted that this motherly demeanor was nice, but it was too sudden for me to adapt. It made me start to question whether I was dreaming. Mom pulled me up, constantly inspecting me from head to toe, her eyes filled with an unreadable meaning. I felt uneasy under her scrutiny. Am I seeing things? Does she look like she's crying? She stroked my hair, almost talking to herself. Zico Sui hasn't gotten any gray hairs. I'm only 18 and just started college. So of course I don't have gray hairs. She then touched my hands. Your hands are still soft. No calluses. Well, it's just from washing dishes every day. I haven't gotten calluses yet. She touched my back again. Your back is straight and not hunched. I frowned. I'm not an old woman, so why would I have a hunchback? I finally couldn't hold back any longer. Wang Klang was what's wrong? Mom wiped her tears and forced out a smile. I'm fine. I just woke up from a nap and heard your brother shouting. This little brat has been spoiled too much by me and your dad. Don't worry. He definitely won't dare to steal your stuff again. If he dares to act like today again, just watch me beat him up. At the end, Mom intentionally raised her voice toward Lin Binbin's room. It sounded like something fell in Lin Binbin's room. Mom smiled at me again, softly saying, I'll give you 10,000 yuan later. You can buy any phone you want. After saying that, she patted my hand and turned to the kitchen to grab a rolling pin, then headed to Lin Binbin's room. What are you throwing a tantrum for? Mom. Why are you hitting me again? I'm hitting you. If you dare to treat your sister like that again, I'll hit you again. Amidst Lin Binbin's cries, I sat there in a day, twisting my thigh in disbelief. That hurts. After Mom finished disciplining Lin Binbin, she really transferred me 10,000 yuan. But I didn't dare spend it. I was afraid that when I woke up tomorrow, everything would be. Mom came over to ask what I wanted to eat. She looked guilty and awkwardly said, Yozo, I used to be wrong. I didn't care enough about you. What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. Ever since I can remember, I was never allowed to be picky, waste food, or ask for this or that. But Lin Binbin could. If I want to eat something, my parents would let me have it. If he couldn't finish, they'd give it to me. Whatever he wanted to eat, Mom would make it right away. Or Dad would go out and buy it for him. No one cared about what I liked or didn't like. No one even knew. Anything is fine. Ma, I love everything you make. I didn't even know what I loved to eat. In my mind, there are only things I had to eat and things I could eat, and I couldn't take anything that Lin Binbin wanted. Mom's eyes suddenly became moist again. So, I was wrong before. Can you forgive me? I was taken aback and didn't know how to respond. You have to understand that my mom is known for her bad temper and assertiveness. For someone like her to suddenly apologize and soften her tone, my first reaction was gratitude. It was shock. Mom, you don't need to do this. I started to wonder if I had a tendency to be a masochist. Mom's attitude toward me had made a complete 180-degree turn, and I really couldn't adapt. That Mom prepared a huge split kitchen, duck, meat, a variety of dishes that were almost as lavish as a New Year's Eve dinner. When she came out of the kitchen, she was sweating profusely but had a smile on her face. It's good to be able to move. Ikosawi. Let's wait for Dad to come back and eat together. Mom pulled me down to sit and started putting food into my bowl while saying, if you're hungry, just eat first. At that moment, Lin Binbin suddenly burst out of the room. Mom, why didn't you even call me to eat? Without looking up, Mom coldly replied, if you want to eat, go ahead. Then she changed her tone and smiled at me. Oh right, I also steamed some sticky rice dumplings for you. I'll go get them. I sat there dazed as she turned to go back to the kitchen, my mind flashing back to when I was 8 years old. That time, Mom had steamed a whole basket of sticky rice dumplings, and Lin Bin grabbed one in each hand to eat. I happily took one too, but just as it was about to reach my mouth, Lin Bin shouted, you're not allowed to eat. They're all mine. In a fit of pique, I took a bite, not expecting Lin Bin to get so angry that he threw all the dumplings on the ground and cried, claiming I was bullying him and stealing his food. That did. I was punished and was allowed to eat dinner, and Lin Bin only became more outrageous afterward. Lin Bin was furious, not daring to get mad at Mom. He pointed at me and whispered a threat. I've already told Dad on you. Just wait for him to come back and deal with you. Just as he finished speaking, the door opened, and Dad came back, then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." Lin Binbin cried out with a whimper, filled with grievance. Dad saw me sitting down and Lin Binbin standing, his expression archening as he scolded me. "Lin Zai Kozui, your dad and your brother haven't eaten yet. And you're already eating? Are you itching for a beating?" He took a few steps toward me and grabbed my collar, trying to pull me up from my chair. "Lin Gaoansha." I turned around and saw Mom standing at the kitchen door, her face dark and grim. Generally, when Mom is in this kind of mood, it's a sign that she's about to explode. Lin Binbin shrank his shoulders and hid behind Dad. "Wronged, wait, was wrong, dear? Did this girl make you angry again today?" And his grip tightened. I felt like a little chick being lifted, my bottom hanging in the air. The next second, Mom's fists rained down on Dad like hail. "Let go of your claws. How can you talk to Zagawi like that? You laid hands on her without asking what happened. What kind of father are you? Have you considered Zykosio's feeling?" Dad was caught off guard, awkwardly letting go of my collar while trying to dodge. "Yao Ziping, have you taken crazy pill? Why are you hitting me?" Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." "Don't hit my face." Mom kept hitting harder and harder, and in the end, she was so enraged that she started swinging left and right, and both Dad and Lin Binbin suffered. Lin Binbin screamed like a slaughtered pig. "Why are you hitting me again?" 10 minutes later, the three of us sat at the dining table. Lin Binbin and I silently ate in unison, while Mom was the only one talking non-stop. "Video Zija, this fish belly. It has no bones. Video Zai Kosui. Try this old ox soup that I made. How does it taste? You're too thin. Eat more meat. But you should also have some vegetables for balanced nutrition." Lin Binbin, what are you doing? Your sister hasn't eaten the chicken leg yet. You're not allowed to touch it. Lin Binbin was angry but didn't dare say anything, continuously casting glances at Dad, who turned his face away to avoid looking at him. Under Mom's enthusiastic feeding, I felt like I was about to burst. I stood up, ready to clear the dishes as usual, but Mom snatched them away from me. "Lin Binbin, go wash the dishes." Lin Binbin looked at Mom in disbelief. "Mom, you've never made me wash dishes." Mom spoke in a tone that left no room for argument. "Lin Binbin, not just at ousterating from today until school starts, you'll wash dishes every day. Besides washing dishes, you'll also sweep the floor, clean the toilet, and take out the trash. All of it is your responsibility. And you'll wash your own clothes too." I was stunned. As long as I was home, these chores had always been my responsibility. Lin Binbin was certainly unhappy about it, for someone who had never lifted a finger. Making him wash dishes and mop floors as someone like Lin Bin, who had been spoiled rotten, was practically asking for his life. "Why? I don't want to." Dad chimed in. "Honey is on break now. Let her help you like before. Why does it have to be our son?" "What I say goes." Lin Binbin jumped up. "Ma, if you force me to do this, they'll go on a hunger strike. I'm going to protest by not eating." Not eating was Lin Binbin's specialty since he was a child. At any time and for any reason. As long as he shouted, "Then I won't eat," Mom would immediately compromise and meet all his unreasonable demands. Being favored gives you the privilege to throw tantrum. When I was 13, I once ran away from home. I waited at the corner 200 meters from my house for 4 hours. And when night fell, I slinked back home. They were having dinner, completely unconcerned. I told you she would come back on her own. You can't indulge this brat's bad behavior. Lindsay, you're not allowed to eat dinner today. Next time, just wait and see how I deal with you." Mom stood up, removed her apron, and coldly told Lin Binbin, "Then you might as well starve to death." That night, Mom took me to the mall. Clothes, skin care products, all sorts of daily necessitative. She thought I could wear or use. She swiped her card without hesitation. Before I went to college, I wore a school uniform all year round. And after the college entrance exam, it took several arguments for me to finally get 500 yuan from mom to buy new clothes. But Lin Binbin was different. He had countless branded clothes, and his closet was packed full. Mom would buy him even basketball shoes that cost thousands without batting an eye. I was already very satisfied when mom was willing to buy me clothes. But today she was buying things like she was giving them away for free, which made me uneasy. Ma, don't buy any more. This enough. Mom turned it effier, and it seemed like she wanted to take the entire mall home with her. The next day when I woke up, everything that happened yesterday felt like a dream. Lin Binbin tiptoed out to use the bathroom, and mom was no longer in the house. Watch your step. Then naturally took the phone away. Smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kind of emotional videos. Take your time." Mom's voice came from outside, and Lin Binbin hurriedly dashed back to his room. You're come and see what nice things I bought for you." She bought more. My little bedroom was already piled high with stuff. There was simply no room for more. After things were brought in, I was left speechless. A piano? Ma actually bought me a piano. Yoshi, didn't you always want to learn the piano when you were a child? Do you like it? Mom's eyes sparkled, and her tone even carried a hint of flattery. Mom, this is way too extravagant, and it wouldn't just fit in my room. There's no space for it in the living room either. Before I could recover from the shock, Mom had already opened Lin Binbin's bedroom door. Yup. Lin Binbin, you're switching rooms with your sister. Move now. Why should I switch rooms with her? You're switching because I said so. Do you want me to beat you again? Mom's decisions were never up for debate. Half an hour later, the piano was placed in Lin Binbin's room. 2 hours later, Lin Binbin's room became mine. Our house is only a 2-bedroom place, and my bedroom was converted from a storage room. Single bed and a small desk almost filled the entire space, and my clothes had to hang on a retractable clothes rack. My things were easy to move, but Lin Binbin had way too much stuff. Clothes. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kind of emotional videos." Computer, speaker, figurines, and Shrinked Imson tossed all of it into a big box without a second thought and told him to clean it up. Lin Binbin didn't dare yell at mom anymore. He sulked alone in his room because he didn't do his chores. Mom didn't make any meals for him, and whenever I tried to help her out with some work, she would stop me. The positions of Lin Binbin me in mom's eyes had flipped. He became the child who was not favored by her, while I inexplicably became her favoration. Might even say I became more cherished than she ever was with Lin Binbin. Mom was incredibly firm. If Lin Bin didn't do his chores, she absolutely would not cook for him and wouldn't allow him to order takeout. If he dared to go out to eat, he wouldn't be allowed to come home that night. Within just a week, Lin Binbin visibly lost a lot of weight, looking listless every day, like a frostbitten cabbage. Under mom's authority, Dad also dared not shout or scold me anymore. Every time he tried to plead for Lin Binbin, he would be met with an even harsher reprimand from mom. She even threw away all the cigarettes in the house, forcing Dad to quit smoking, claiming that if he continued, he would get lung cancer before turning 50. Without cigarettes, Dad began to look worn out as well. One day, he came home from work with an excited expression, announcing that the headquarters was offering a welfare housing purchase program, with several slots available for each subsidiary unit. We had to pay in full all at once. Honey, let me tell you, this welfare house is the one we saw before, in a great location, and the layout is beautiful. The most important thing is that the total price for the group purchase is over 300,000 cheaper than the market price. Over 300,000. Can you imagine? Everyone in our unit is buzzing about it. You need to go withdraw the money from our savings tomorrow. We have just about enough savings to grab one of those slots. Mom had previously always complained that our current house was too old and poorly located, making it inconvenient for grocery shopping and commuting. She constantly wanted to change houses but had never found a suitable one. In reality, she was unwilling to settle for something cheap, but the ones she liked were too expensive. I thought she would be thrilled about such a great opportunity, But when I turned to look at her, I was surprised to find her wearing an expression that said it had nothing to do with her. We're not buying. What did you say? Dad thought he misheard her. Mom raised her voice and repeated, not buying. Dad screamed like a chicken. Why not? What a great opportunity. Others are fighting tooth and nail for it. And you're actually turning it down. Didn't you always want to change houses? Although I didn't have a say in such family matters, I also thought Dad made a good point. Saving tens of thousands of yuan was a good thing. And once we missed this chance, there would be no second one. But no matter how much Dad tried to appeal to her feelings or reason with her, Mom remained unmoved. Dad was practically going crazy with anger. Kiao zipping. Just wait and see how you regret this. I want to see where you'll go to cry later. But it was useless. Mom controlled all the money in the house, and without her consent, no one could touch it. The next day, Dad left without even having breakfast. Still furious, in the afternoon, Aunt Sue, one of Mom's old classmates, suddenly called her. Sipping. You guys should register for the house purchase today. Why isn't old Lin handling it? Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, you never used to watch these kind of emotional videos. We decided not to buy this house. Well, look again. Oh my goodness. You're not seizing such a great deal? I told my husband that if we can't get a slot, it's not allowed back home. Fortunately, she secured it and paid in full on the spot. Enza's husband happened to work at the same unit as my dad, and for so many years. And Mom had been secretly competing against each other conferring appearances. Husband and family conditions. It turned out that Aunt Sue had called specifically to show off to Mom. However, Mom didn't respond with her usual sarcastic remarks, but instead smiled and said, congratulations. My family has no money, so I won't join the fun. Old Lin's salary is similar to old Li. Yet you say you don't have money? If I were you, I'd borrow some to secure that house. I've seen that place. It's fantastic. You might regret this in the future. And so, feeling victorious, laughed and hung up the phone. I couldn't help but ask Mom why she was unwilling to buy a house. Mom looked disdainful. Let's heck is it take the unfinished building? Unfinished? I looked at Mom, suspiciously. How did she know? After saying that, Mom clammed up and wouldn't say another word, even when I pressed her for more information. Instead, she urged me to change clothes, mysteriously claiming she was taking me somewhere. After nearly an hour's drive, Mom brought me to a sales center in the western suburbs. Behind the sales office, there was a residential area under construction. But within a 10-mile radius, there was nothing but wasteland. And the area surrounding the project was completely devoid of any supporting facilities. The sales center itself was empty, with only a few people around. I was confused. You're not seriously considering looking at houses here, are you? It's quite far from the city center. Actually, it was not just a bit far. In more steps and we'd be out of the city altogether. Mom ruffled my hair. You don't understand. You'll know later. The sales consultant at the center greeted us warmly. Mom, don't let the current lack of amenities deter you. In less than 3 years, this area, well, the pretty young lady was about to launch into a lengthy pitch, promising the various future advantages of the development when Mom raised her hand to interrupt her. I already know all this. No need to elaborate. I'm really interested in your project. Just tell me about the available layouts and current prices. Mom, you truly have a keen eye. Because this place was so far from the city and surrounded by vast wasteland, the current housing prices were unbelievably cheap. I was left dumbfounded as I watched Mom choose to south-facing 3-bedroom units in the best building of the project and then pay the deposit without hesitation. The consultant was so happy she couldn't stop smiling. I guess, Mom, aren't you going to discuss this with Dad first? He doesn't understand anything. By the time I finish discussing it with him, the opportunity will have passed. I nervously swallowed. There was likely going to be a huge showdown between Mom and Dad. Sure enough, when Dad found out that Mom had used 100,000 to secure those houses on that piece of Wastel Danto units, no less blew up at home. calling her a foolish spendthrift and yelling that he wanted a divorce. In a fit of anger, Dad stayed at his workplace for a week and didn't come home. When Ansu heard the news, she couldn't hold back her laughter and went directly to Mom's house to mock her. I'm not saying it's your fault. Then you just didn't get it. You can't make hasty decisions and throw money around carelessly. Mom smiled but didn't respond. Do you know where the western suburbs are? There's no economy, no development. People with any sense won't buy houses there. You're just throwing your money away. Mom remained calm. Ansu continued. Look how angry you've made old Lin. When your son wants to marry, without a decent house in a good location. Then, Mom couldn't hold back. Who says this is a house for my son? This is a house for my daughter in my retirement. Ansu was stunned, mumbling under her breath, wondering if Mom had gone crazy. I'm perfectly fine. I've never been as clear-headed as I am now. Ansu scoffed. You're just being stubborn. I'm waiting for the day you regret this. After Ansu left, not only did Mom not plan to give Lin Binbin the 2 houses, but she even intended to keep one for me. My goodness, I couldn't have heard her correctly. Mom's behavior was unusual, and I was the direct beneficiary. But I began to have the same thoughts as Ansu. Had my mom really been affected by something? Moreover, I was worried that my parents might actually divorce over this. Mom seemed to read my mind and reassured me. It's okay. Your dad will be back by next week at the latest. How was she so sure? But before Dad could return, my grandmother showed up first. She had received an urgent plea from Lin Binbin and spent 100 yuan on a taxi from the neighboring county. Arriving in a huff. Coincidentally, Mom wasn't home when she arrived. Lin Binbin, seeing her, threw himself into her arms and cried, Grandma, you finally came. My goodness, my precious grandson. How did you get so thin? I heard Grandma's voice from the bedroom and instinctively felt my heart tighten. Lin Binbin then began to pour out his grievances about the inhumane treatment he had endured recently. Grandma listened, her heart aching. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. My poor grandson. When Grandma learned that Mom had made Lin Binbin do chore, her voice was filled with disbelief. Your mom actually made you, young man, wash dishes and mop the floor. The men of the Lin family are meant for great things. How can they do household chores? Grandma, I was mopping the floor before you came. Mom said if I didn't finish, I wouldn't get dinner. What on earth is wrong with your mom? Was she good to you before? I don't know. A few days ago, she bought a house and said it was for Lindsay Kosui. Without me getting any share, Grandma's voice suddenly became sharp. I think your mom has gone crazy. Where's your sister? Tell her to come out. With mixed feeling, I walked out of the bedroom, timidly calling. I couldn't help it. I had been afraid of her since I was little. And I admitted I really didn't like her. When I was born, she insisted on giving me away. At 3, she took me to the market and intentionally let go of my hand. And I ended up being returned home by a neighbor who happened to pass by. When I was 9, she took me and Lin Binbin to an amusement park, but only bought 2 tickets, one for Lin Binbin and one for herself. I stood outside in the cold for hours and came home that night with a fever. Before the college entrance exam, she kept telling my parents that girls studying so much was useless and that it was better to find a wealthy husband. It was thanks to my aunt advocating for me that I had the chance to go to university. At that moment, Grandma looked at me with disgust. A little girl dares to compare herself with my precious grandson. You should do more chores at home and learn how to cook. That's what's proper. Your brother worked, and you just stand there and watch. Your mom makes him do chore, and you don't stop him. Do you even look like a sister? They'll tell you, as long as I'm around, I won't let your mom do something so foolish. What kind of reasoning is this? Why in the world do you buy a house for a daughter but not for a son? What are you still standing there for? Go mop the floor and then cook for your brother. Even though Mom had been incredibly nice to me during this time, I was about to let it go to my head. I obediently picked up the mop. Going against Grandma would definitely not end well. Lin Binbin raised his hand and said, Grandma, look at my hands. I got collusive. Well, feeling sorry for him, hugged Lin Bin Bin and kept stroking him, gently saying, "My precious grandson has suffered." I mopped the floor while secretly cursing Lin Bin Bin for being so dramatic. Just then, Mom returned from grocery shopping. As soon as she entered, she saw me laboring away. Didn't we say that from now on, all the chores would be done by your brother?" I gave a sheepish smile. Zipping Grandma crossed her legs and elongated her tone. Mom then noticed Grandma sitting on the couch and looked a bit surprised. "Ma, what brings you here?" Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kind of emotional videos." "What brings me here? If I don't come, what will happen to my grandson who's being bullied?" Mom snatched the mop from my hand. "Lin Bin Bin, finish your chores." Lin Bin Bin shrank behind Grandma. Grandma slammed the coffee table and shouted with full force, "Let's see who dares to make my grandson work today." Despite her age, Grandma's imposing presence was on par with Mom's. Lin Bin Bin, I didn't dare to breathe. Sensing the tension between Mom and Grandma in the air, Grandma took Lin Bin Bin's hand and reprimanded Mom. "He's a boy. You want him to do housework? What are you thinking? This the time when he's growing. You don't even feed him properly. If he gets sick from hunger, can you bear that responsibility? Look at how big Bin Bin is now. You want him to live in that storage room, which is like a pigsty. Can anyone live there?" Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kind of emotional videos." Meant I was considered less than human. Another thing, Grandma pointed at Mom. "Bin Bin said you bought a house for your daughter, not for him. Is that true?" Faced with Grandma's sharp questioning, Mom remained composed. "What? Since Lin Gaongsha let me take charge, I have that authority." "What authority?" "I don't believe my son would allow you to act recklessly like this. If you dare to do that, do you think I won't have my son divorce you?" I looked at Mom with concern, but she merely smiled faintly. "You can do as you please. Lin Bin Bin, can't you hear me telling you to finish mopping?" Grandma was so furious at Mom's attitude that she trembled all over. "My precious grandson, come with me. Let's see who can force you to work." Lin Bin Bin had found his ally. He shot a resentful glance at Mom and me before quickly packing up his things and leaving with Grandma. As they walked out, I could still hear Grandma saying, "Just wait for your mom to regret it. I guarantee she'll come back to get you in a few days." After Grandma and Lin Bin Bin left, I was genuinely worried for a few days, fearing that Dad would suddenly come back and divorce Mom. But Mom continued her routine without any signs of distress. As for Dad, Mom was right. He really did come back on Saturday night, looking scruffy and embarrassed. "So, where's your mom?" I pointed to the bedroom as I was watching TV. Dad rushed in without even changing his shoes, and I heard him excitedly shout, "Honey, the developer of that welfare housing ran off with every on his full payment. The house isn't even finished yet, and it's already a half-built trek. It's only been a few days. That bought houses from our unit was so happy at the time, and now they're all devastated. But it won't help. Old Lee and Zoohik are about to get divorced. Old Lee said he only bought that house because it was pushed him into it, and he even borrowed quite a bit from others." Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. Good thing we didn't buy it." Dad went on a long-winded tirade, expressing both regret and relief, while Mom remained unfazed, as if she had known all along. Am I still confused now? It's me who's confused. Am the biggest fool of all? Still want a divorce? Dad hurriedly said. "What are you talking about?" Mom laughed at him. I couldn't help but laugh either. Then I heard Dad exclaim, "I've realized that to mediocre houses are still better than losing all the money. As long as they don't turn into a half-built trek, it'll be fine." At that moment, the local news on TV was reporting a story. Our city plans to invest 15.6 swing billion yuan to expedite the completion of the Eye of the City project, focusing on high-quality development themes, high-standard planning, and high-level management to fully promote the development and construction of the new area. This large-scale urban planning, healthcare, and recreation is set to be completed by 2025. This initiative will undoubtedly boost the surrounding commercial and residential areas suddenly. The sales center my mom and I visited appeared on the screen. At that moment, my young heart was profoundly shaken. Mom's image in my mind was like that of a deity. Duh. Come quick and look. Even though it was yet the new year, the atmosphere in our home felt more festive than during the holiday. Mom appeared calm on the surface, but I could sense her deep happiness inside. Dad shook off his previous gloom and walked with his head held high. I really was mocked by old Lee not too long ago. Mom advised him to be modest to avoid attracting jealousy. Yes, you're right. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. But every time I think about how much those two houses you bought have increased in value, I get so excited I can't sleep. Why didn't you buy a few more back then?" Mom shot Dad a glare. "If I bought another one, wouldn't you want to kill me? Base, do you have that much money?" Whatever Mom said now, Dad was no longer angry. Look at you. Dad was overjoyed, completely forgetting about Lin Bin Bin. As long as Mom didn't bring it up, no one would mention taking Lin Bin back. When Mom and I were out shopping, we ran into Aunt Sue, who quickly avoided us before we could greet her, even though Mom told us to keep a low profile. That we had just bought houses for a bargain price and they had skyrocketed in value spread quickly among our relatives. Uncle and Aunt came over first. "How come your judgment is so good?" Mom humbly replied. "It was just a lucky coincidence. You should have thought of bringing us along for such good news back then." "Brother, what are you saying? I had really invited you. Would you have come?" Uncle awkwardly chuckled, and Aunt quickly changed the topic. "By the way, is your eldest nephew about to propose? That girl's family is asking for a substantial bride price, and now we have to prepare for both the bride price and the house. I really feel a bit overwhelmed." Aunt's hints were quite clear, but Mom pretended not to understand. "I've met that girl once. She seems nice, and if they get married, they'll surely be a happy couple." Aunt coughed lightly and continued with her hints. "Of course. That's why we're thinking of settling this marriage as soon as possible." Mom agreed. "Yeah, it needs to be Finally, my uncle couldn't hold back anymore. Said, "I really am a bit tight on funds right now. Can you help out?" Mom smiled, but her expression was somewhat distant. "Brother, sister-in-law, it's not that I don't want to help. It's just that after buying the house, I don't have any cash left." It seemed Mom had firmly decided against lending money, and I couldn't understand her reasoning. And had come to borrow money more than once, and Mom had always readily helped. Why was it different today? When Uncle and Aunt left, their faces were dark with displeasure. "In your real brother, can't you think of our brotherly bond? Don't you consider that one day you might need my help?" Mom replied expressionlessly. "Brother, when my eldest nephew gets married, I'll definitely give a generous reed envelope." When my aunt heard that Mom hadn't lent money to Uncle, she stormed over to confront her. "Have you forgotten what our parents said before they left? We three must support and help each other. His affairs are our affairs, and we must find ways to help him." Mom scoffed. "He's a grown man. Every time something happens to him, when we have something, he just brushes us off. I don't want to play the fool anymore. But he's the only male heir of the Kiyao family. He's supposed to," and interrupted, "continue the lineage for the Kiyao family? And you think that's ridiculous?" Mom replied, "Tell me, have we been less filial to our parents than he has? Before our parents left, who was at the hospital taking care of them? Was it him or us to taking turns day and night? When we women marry, we're like water that's been spilled. That, as men, are always the prized possession, the hope and future of the family. Can't even fulfill basic familial duties. Then he's worthless." Aunt was taken aback by Mom's outburst and left in a daze. After Aunt left, Mom took the initiative to call my aunt, exchanged pleasantries, and warmly invited her family to come visit us. Didn't you have a falling out with my aunt last time? Ditoza Kosoe. You might not understand it all matters yet. It's only after I've been through hardships that I see clearly who truly cares for you, and who doesn't. True feelings are revealed in times of trouble. Mom was speaking in a way I didn't understand again. When had she suffered losses? How come I didn't know? Under Mom's influence. Dad's attitude towards me gradually changed. He no longer called me stupid girl with a sour face, nor did he constantly lecture me to make way for Lin Binbin. Speaking of Lin Binbin, it seemed he had been at Grandma's for almost a month, and Mom showed no intention of bringing him back. One, I overheard Grandma calling Dad. Why don't you ask your wife when she's going to bring your son back home? Wang, Mom. Been happy with you. Aren't you afraid he'll get tired when he comes back? I don't know if he'll be tired when he gets back, but if he doesn't come home soon, I'm going to be worn out. It turned out that after going to Grandma's, Lin Binbin had completely unleashed his nature and turned back into that lazy. He was picky with his food. He got hungry in the middle of the night. He would wake Grandma to make him something. Lin Binbin was careless, throwing tissues everywhere, leaving used towels lying around, not lifting the toilet seat, and scattering snack crumbs all over his bed. Clean Grandma couldn't stand it anymore and followed him around every day, cleaning up after him. Lin Binbin wanted to sleep in and wouldn't let Grandma listen to the radio in the morning. At night, he wanted to play video games and blasted the sound no matter the hour. After a month, Lin Binbin had gained all the weight back, and Grandma had lost a lot. In the past, when Lin Binbin visited Grandma, it was only for 3 or 4 days, and she didn't care how he acted. But this time, it had gone on too long, and after being cooped up at home for too long without Mom's constraints, he had completely let loose. Grandma could finally take no more. She didn't wait for Mom to plead with Lin Binbin to come back. Instead, she began to hint at Dad. Dad had already received Mom's instructions and said awkwardly, if Binbin comes back, he can only stay in the small room. It would be so unfair to the child. What big deal? When you were a child, you didn't even have your own bedroom. Don't you remember that our family of 4 squeezed into a small room? But if Binbin comes back, he won't be able to play games or sleep in. The kid will definitely suffer. Young people shouldn't stay up late. Early to bed and early to rise is the way to be healthy. What if sipping still makes Binbin do chores when he comes back? Balance work and rest. Besides, letting him do more chores will help him understand the difficulties others face. But Grandma exploded. No, but hurry up and bring your son back. Lin Bin never expected that even his beloved Grandma would betray him. His last glimmer of hope was shattered. Mom enrolled him in several tutoring classes, forcing him to choose between housework and tutoring. And Lin Binbin decisively chose tutoring. Lin Binbin, don't say I didn't give you a chance. If your grades don't improve next semester, not only will you have to do chores, but you'll also have to prepare breakfast and dinner every day. Your grades are already poor, so what's there to be afraid of getting worse? Moreover, this time Lin Binbin didn't dare to take my things or boss me around like before. He even awkwardly called me sister from time to time. I didn't know why Mom was so tough on Dad about quitting smoking. She resolutely refused to back down, and Dad endured the painful process of quitting. I spent that summer vacation as if in a dream. On the day I left, Mom took me to the high-speed train station, looking particularly happy. Starting this semester, I'll give you 5,000 yuan a month for living expenses. I quickly shook my head. Ma, that's too much. I told her that 1,500 would be more than enough. How much I give is my intention. How you manage it is up to you. You're a sensible child. 100 or 1,000 times better than your brother. Mom said, her eyes reddening as she spoke. I realized she was someone who cried easily. However, the distance and estrangement between us, for over 18 years, couldn't be resolved in just a month. I didn't know how to comfort her or what to say. For a moment, I could only awkwardly remain silent. Mom wiped her tears, smiled through them, and pushed me toward the entrance. Look at me, crying for no reason. All right, go on. Hyosoi, study hard in college, make friends, and enjoy your life. By the way, anything happens or you miss home at any time, just call me. Okay. I pursed my lips and nodded. As the high-speed train left the platform, familiar scenery gradually faded away. I recalled glancing back as I entered the station and saw Mom trying to tiptoe and stretch her neck to find me, and suddenly, tears streamed down my face. The last time I left home for a university miles away, all I felt was the thrill of escape. But this time, it turned out that I had unconsciously developed a sense of reluctance when I was in my junior year. Lin Bin, it got accepted into a local second-tier university, and the whole family was in high spirit. Even Grandma had to admit that thanks to Mom's strictness over the past 2 years, Lin Bin was able to get into college. Under Mom's stern guidance, Lin Bin had already corrected many of his bad habits. In these 2 years, Mom had given Dad strategies on whom to side with at work, who to give gifts to, and how to present himself seriously to others. After following her advice, Dad was promoted 3 levels within 2 years, and his benefits increased significantly. Things were going very smoothly for him. My relationship with Lin Bin also improved quite a bit during this time. Ma always tirelessly instilled in him Zaikusui is your real se. You have a responsibility to protect her from being bullied. When your dad and I are gone, she will be the closest person to you in this world. If you treat her well, will you treat well? As graduation approached, Dad wanted me to return to our hometown. But Mom said, so, don't have any worry. If you want to go home, Mom supports you. You want to develop elsewhere, Mom will also fully support you. When you're ready to settle in it, Mom will sell the house she bought for you back then and use that money to help you buy a home. Mom really hopes you can have your own life. See you get married, have children, and build your own family. Mom will also take good care of her health. And if you want me to help look after the baby when you have children, I will do it without hesitation. If you find me annoying, then Mom will give you financial support. On the other end of the line, Mom was rambling on, somehow transitioning from discussing job hunting to me having children. And I found my eyes moistening without realizing it. 4 years ago, when I left home for university, I was happy to be away from that suffocating household. Now, as graduation approached, the prospect of being able to go even further filled me with countless feelings of reluctance and concern. I didn't have much ambition. I chose to return home and smoothly pass the civil service exam. Mom was extremely happy and said she wanted to book a dozen tables at a 5-star hotel in the city to celebrate with friends and family. But I stopped her, saying I needed to keep things low-key. After securing my job, Mom began arranging for me to find a partner. Dad didn't quite understand that. You're so young, why are you in such a hurry? But Mom scolded him, saying he didn't understand anything. Good boys are in high demand now. If Choji Kosui meets someone good, they can date for a couple of years, and by the time their personalities have blended well enough, they'll be ready to marry. Then before you turn 30, you'll have given birth to the kids, and afterward, you'll take care of them while Kosui can focus on her career. I couldn't help but interrupt. Mom, I only want to have one child, Mom replied without thinking. One is fine, whatever you say. Will do. Dad shook his head. See, your mom is just that. You know, what you young people call it. A daughter slave. Mom suddenly slapped Dad on the shoulder. Stop joking around. Don't forget your medical checkup appointment this afternoon. At that moment, a voice message suddenly popped up in the group chat from Lin Bin. I actually got a 3rd-class scholarship, 500 yuan. Oh my gosh, your son is making progress. I set a thumbs up emoji in the group. Your birthday is coming soon. How about I buy you a lipstick? Mom complained. You little brat. The point of mentioning a birthday gift in advance, Dad was delighted. Not bad. Not bad. Son takes after me. He's a late bloomer. Late bloomer my foot. I still say that. Once he graduates, that kid has to find a job on his own. Work hard for his own health. And no way will he be living off his parent. Look at you. You're too strict with Ben. Such a happy thing that the kid won an award. What do you have to say that? Bisa? Which kid can afford to buy a house by themselves these days? Mom and Dad started their banter again. The afternoon sunlight streamed in through the windows of the new house, warming me up. And suddenly a phrase floated into my mind: the sun is warm. And the years are peaceful. This was the very meaning of my choice to return home. After Mom left, I went back to the old house to sort through her belongings. I got tired and leaned against her bedside to rest. But somehow, I fell asleep. In my dreams, I found myself back in my 20s. Dad had passed away early from lung cancer, and Mom had spent her life savings to buy a house for Lin Bin Bin, pay the bride price, and marry him off. But on the very day of the wedding, Mom was in a car accident. When she woke up, she was paralyzed from the waist down. The doctors said she would never recover in her lifetime. Lin Bin Bin, he had just gotten married and couldn't take care of a paralyzed mom, ended up leaving her to me. Since Lin Bin Bin wouldn't take care of Mom, I couldn't ignore her either. Oh, I took on that responsibility to care for her better. I rented a two-bedroom apartment. However, my meager salary couldn't cover the rent and the daily expenses for both of us, along with Mom's medical costs. So I worked multiple jobs. At first, Lin Bin Bin would give me some money, but over time, he started to make excuses. I asked my uncle for help, but he said he had the grandsons to take care of and had limited energy and finances. So he couldn't help much. Thankfully, my aunt and cousin occasionally assisted me, allowing me and Mom to get through the toughest days. In reality, financial issue was small compared to Mom's psychological struggles. To help ease her mood, I would push her wheelchair outside whenever I had time. The apartment I rented was in a building without an elevator. So every time, I had to first carry the wheelchair down, then go back to carry Mom down the stairs. The same went for coming back. I would carry her upstairs first and then go down to fetch the wheelchair. I bathed Mom daily, took care of her incontinence, massaged her legs to prevent muscle atrophy, did my best to tell jokes to make her happy, and pretended not to see the tears streaming down her face. The days passed with the two of us relying on each other. 1 year, 5 years, then naturally took the son away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." 20 years. Years of hard work made me gray-haired and calloused by the time I was 50, and I could never straighten my back. I never got married in my life, before Mom passed away. Crying like a child. Eventually took this all away. In this life, Mom prays to heaven every day, praying that we'll have another life together, praying that heaven will give me another chance. Mom. I was awakened by my daughter shaking me. "Why did you fall asleep sitting there? Be careful not to catch a cold." I couldn't help but recall the dream I had just experienced, and my thoughts were suddenly pulled back to that summer when I was 18. Suddenly, the uncharacteristically sentimental Mom turned the fates of Lin Bin Bin and the whole family around. Was it really like this? "Look, you're crying. Mom misses Grandma. But Grandma said when she left that you shouldn't be sad or upset. And she said she lived her life without regrets." "Your Grandma? She did all the things she wanted to do.